Today I'm trying 3 recipes from Taste of Home magazine, the premiere issue. This particular magazine was published in 1993. We'll talk about it later. Taste of Home magazine. This magazine holds a lot of nostalgia for me. The very first issue, this one was published in 1993, and I would have been 12 years old when it first came out. I did an entire flip through of this issue over on my Patreon, and as I was getting ready to do that, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to choose some recipes and try them out? So that is what I'm doing today. The first recipe that I'm trying today is for best broccoli casserole. And I cannot tell you how happy even thinking about this recipe makes me. Broccoli casserole, like broccoli cheese and rice casserole, was probably like my favorite dish at any family potluck that I went to. It didn't matter who made it or brought it. It was just like, yes, I'm going for it. We did a lot of family potlucks growing up because my extended family is pretty large. Usually we would have one at Christmas time, and then we would have another one over the summer, and everybody would bring a dish to share, and you can be sure that someone was going to be bringing a broccoli casserole. This one is definitely not the one that I remember because there are some ingredients in there. It's celery. There's celery in this one. That was never in the ones that I remember eating, but I'm super excited to try it anyway. It has been a long time since I've had this casserole. So over here on my back burner, I have 1 cup of water and salt that I am bringing to a boil, and that is to cook my rice. But while that's happening, we're gonna turn our attention here because I need to melt some butter. Okay, my water has come to a boil. I need to add 1 cup of minute rice to that. I'm gonna stir it, turn off the heat, and cover that for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for this butter to fully melt. It's almost there. All right, butter has melted, and now I have 1/4 cup of diced onion. We lost one. She's going back in the pan. And as I mentioned, 1/4 cup of diced celery. I diced mine pretty small. You know why if you've been here for a while. It's gonna be fine. I think because I'm sauteing it and cooking it before it actually goes into the casserole, I don't mind small pieces of cooked celery nearly as much. So now I just need to saute these vegetables in the butter until they are tender. Hey, I've got a little secret for you. Sometimes I don't feel like cooking. But Anna, you run a cooking related YouTube channel. I know, that is exactly why sometimes I don't feel like cooking, and that's when Factor comes to my rescue. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Factor offers 35 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meal options per week. They're fresh, never frozen, and they're delivered right to your door. Factor has options to fit a variety of dietary needs, including keto, vegan and veggie, calorie smart, and more. Their meals are ready to heat and eat in just a few minutes, so you can always have something quick and delicious, even when you don't have a lot of time. So after a few minutes in the microwave, this is what we got. Looks delicious. What am I trying today? It is creamy tomato sofrito grilled chicken with Yukon Gold mash and roasted zucchini with red peppers. Heck yes, I think that looks so good. I always love Factor's chicken meals. I feel like they do a great job with the seasonings and the sauces, but also the chicken has a really good texture. Sometimes I find that microwaved chicken, the texture's not always the greatest, but I don't know, they do something to these to like get it right. So I am gonna dig in here. Great sauce, nicely seasoned chicken. Let's try the veggies. I also love that Factor meals always include veggies, and they're well seasoned and interesting, What is this? Zucchini with roasted red pepper. Really good. And you gotta love mashed potatoes, right? Yeah, those are good. This is such a good combination, I think. When your life gets hectic, Factor is flexible. You can change your delivery schedule whenever you need it. Choose from 4 to 18 meals per week, or you can even pause or reschedule as needed. In addition to meals, Factor also has snack options like small bites, smoothies, and juices, including this delicious pineapple turmeric basil juice. If you're ready to give Factor a try, head to factor75.com or click the link in my description down below and use code 50cookingbooks. You'll get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50cookingbooks at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. This is where we bring it all home, we bring it all together, we combine everything to make it into a casserole. You know what? I left my book over there. All right, all right. In large mixing bowl, combine rice, celery, and onion with remaining ingredients. Okie doke. So I've got my little pan of cooked rice here. Look at me, scraping the pan. My onion and celery and my 1/4 cup of butter. Let's combine that just a little bit. Now, if you don't enjoy cream soups, you're gonna need to look away or skip ahead to the next recipe because this casserole has 2 cans of cream soup, one of cream of chicken and one of cream of celery. Yes, celery. I'm really getting into the celery today. So we need to throw those in here too. Gently throw them in here. I have this very skinny spatula that I love to use when I'm scraping soup cans, especially like when I'm trying to get it all out. So if I can find this, I will link it in the description down below. It is one of those little things that makes a big difference when it comes to cooking something like this. Can really get in there and just like get all of it out. I mean, I have a ton of spatulas. I just like this one because it really fits in there. Some of the like heads of my spatulas would be a little too large to fit inside this can. So I appreciate the shape of this one. Now for the cream of celery. I haven't bought a can of cream of celery soup in years. No, I usually stick with cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, maybe cream of, I think there's like a cream of garlicky mushroom or something like that. But cream of celery, not usually one that I keep in stock. I've made a broccoli cheese and rice casserole before, but just I haven't made this one. Mixing it up. Okay, I have 1/2 cup of diced processed American cheese. Yes, it's Velveeta. Again, avert your eyes. If you can't take this, please look away. It's too scary for you. Let's see here, the star of the show. I have 10 ounces of frozen broccoli that I have thawed, and I actually chopped mine up into smaller pieces because I just prefer it that way. A lot of times frozen broccoli, even like if you get the florets, it comes in like very big chunks. And I thought chopping them up would be a little more pleasant and would distribute them through the casserole a little more easily. The other thing, if you happen to see a few flecks of like red and orange in here, I thought I had enough frozen broccoli in my freezer and I didn't. So what I had to do, I used up the frozen broccoli I had and then I had to like open a bag of broccoli stir fry and pick out some of the pieces. So that's why there's a little bit of like, you know, red pepper and carrot sort of clinging to the pieces a little. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't want to go out of the house. I just didn't want to leave and buy more broccoli. Okay, yes, looking very familiar. Looking very familiar. I'm so excited about this. Like I can't even tell you. It's bringing back such like warm memories of going to a potluck, usually a family potluck, occasionally a church potluck. Just the look of it, I'm like so excited. Okay, so I'll show it to you before it goes into the casserole. That's what it's looking like. I got this twist whisk out. I didn't need it. You know, I like to be extra prepared. All right, I have a greased 1.5 quart casserole dish. We're going butterfly gold today alongside my spring blossom. It was quite gloomy out today, so I needed these things to cheer me up. And I'm gonna pour this in here. Oh yeah, that's a casserole, all right. Woohoo. The top, make it smooth. Stop it. I am gonna do something that they don't say to do in the recipe, but you know, if you have been watching my channel, that I love a breadcrumb topping, specifically a buttery breadcrumb topping. And I still have these crumbs like left over from when I made Edna Lewis's cheese straws. The like really toasty ones I made into crumbs. They already have like a decent amount of butter in them, so they're like instantly buttery breadcrumb topping. I am gonna just sprinkle a little on top. No, you cannot stop me. I am ungovernable. I think it could really benefit from this step anyway. Makes it look good, gives it a little pizzazz. We're just gonna do a sprinkling. Don't tell anyone I did this. Specifically the person who submitted this recipe. What is their name? Oh, Cindy Kohlberg. Sorry, Cindy. I did my own thing for the topping. I'm so excited to give this a try in about an hour. It has to bake for 1 hour at 350 degrees. Oh my gosh, the crumbs smell so good. Let me show you. Let me show you what we've got going on here. Heck yes. This is all I ever wanted in a casserole. Today anyway. Today anyway. Like I said earlier, it's a bit gloomy. This is warm, this is comforting, this smelled so good baking. Oh, I also want to show you, I have a couple new plates, and this is what I'm going for today. because it reminds me of the time that this magazine was published, the early 90s. This pattern is called needlepoint. Picked a few of these up at a thrift store with my mom and dad. Okay, so excited to try this. I cannot tell you. I did let this sit for a few minutes. I probably, you know, if you want, you could let it sit longer, but I'm just too excited. Just too excited to try this. It smells divine. For me, to me. Like, it just has a very familiar smell to it. I'm gonna try to get a little more broccoli in there. Okie doke. Just a sampling. I think the crumbs were a good call, by the way. Okay. Heck yes, that hits the spot. That is my family holiday potlucks. That is, you know, the smell of dinner baking in the oven when I came home from school. I wasn't sure how close this would be to the broccoli, cheese, and rice casserole that I grew up with. I'd say it's reasonably close. I think if I made this again, I'd go more on broccoli. It only has 10 ounces of broccoli in it, and I would like it to be a little bit more broccoli heavy, but the flavor is there. The flavor is very close to what I remember. And the celery doesn't really like bother me or anything. It's cooked, it's soft, it's in there. You know, it's just a hint, and it's fine. This is a pretty good, I would say, if you're looking for like a broccoli, cheese, and rice casserole, this is a pretty good one. Definitely make it if you're feeling, if you're feeling the need to have a warm, comforting, and nostalgic meal. I'm gonna have more. I spotted this recipe for Taffy Apple Dip and knew I had to give it a try. Because there are very few ingredients in this, like just stuff I normally would have: cream cheese, brown sugar, vanilla. That's pretty much it, other than some nuts that are really more of a garnish that you put on top. Yeah, I'm gonna get started. I don't think it's gonna take very long. I have an 8-ounce block of softened cream cheese, and I think, yeah, it's very soft, but I am gonna just kind of like break it up with the mixer for a moment, just before I incorporate the rest of the other ingredients. Just to get things going, you know, make sure there aren't lumps in there. To that, I'm adding 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar and a tablespoon of vanilla. That's pretty much it, other than if you want to have nuts on top of this, it says 1/2 cup of chopped peanuts, I believe, yes. And then you serve it with apple wedges. I'm gonna take a moment to scrape the bowl. I really want to take my time beating this brown sugar in because I don't want it to be grainy. So I think, you know, just go in that few extra moments, really making sure that it is incorporated is gonna be key here. That's just my opinion. I haven't tried this recipe before. We're gonna mix again. I beat this for a full 2 minutes and it is very soft and creamy. It was more like 2.5 minutes actually, because I scraped the bowl to make sure there were no brown sugar lumps in there and broke a couple up and then beat it again. It is not grainy feeling at all. It does have a nice smooth quality. So I would say if you're gonna try this, definitely take your time when you're mixing all of this stuff together. Well, now I have to try it. Let me cut up an apple and I'll be right back. All right, I have a Granny Smith apple here, and I did sprinkle just a few pecans on top of the Taffy Apple Dip just to make it look nice. I don't have any peanuts as it indicates in the recipe. I can understand why you would want peanuts if this is a caramel apple or taffy apple dip. That's usually, you know, the nuts that maybe they're dipped in. I prefer my caramel apples plain, so. Let's select an apple slice here, give this a try. Yeah, very creamy. Very good. I love it with those Granny Smith apples. Tart Granny Smith apples, creamy from the cream cheese, perfect balance of sweetness with, you know, the brown sugar and the vanilla. Combined with that cream cheese, it's not overpowering as like a super sweet dessert kind of thing. This could be a great thing to take to a party or to serve at a party if you don't have a lot of time, because it just had a few ingredients and they're things that typically I would have on hand anyway. I love finding new ways to prepare vegetables, especially, you know, when they start with frozen vegetables. So this buttery peas and zucchini recipe really caught my eye. And bonus, it is a 2-person recipe. It just makes 2 servings. Now it just has a few ingredients, but there's one of them that I need to talk about just a little bit. And that's this right here, this sweet peas and butter sauce. Couple of things. This was not easy to find. The only store I could find it at was my local Meijer. Hooray, Meijer! You might have to look a little bit for this. I searched online before I even went into the store to see which stores had it. Also, the recipe calls for a 10-ounce package. The only package I could find was 8 ounces. So we're gonna kind of like fudge the amounts just a little bit. I know it's not like super important or the end of the world, but you know, I like to just be really upfront about that. Also, some of you might be saying, why don't you just put a hunk of butter in some peas? I could do that, but I've never tasted the sauce that comes with this before. So I wanted to try to find this just so that I could taste it, find out what it actually tastes like, that butter sauce, and then maybe try to replicate it in the future. So I looked at the back of the package. It looks like, yes, it's butter and salt, but there's some other things, some paprika, etc. So I'm going to taste this as close as I can get to the original recipe. And then maybe it is going to be as simple as like throwing some butter and a few spices into a pan with frozen peas next time. I don't know. Just wanted to give you the peas update. The first step is to cook the peas according to the package directions. I wasn't into this at first. I was like, oh, I don't want to dirty another pan. You can cook these in the microwave. That is what I'm going to do. Modern conveniences. Remove pouch, place pouch printed side up on a microwave plate. Microwave safe plate. Okay, let's get one of those. So the peas just about to go in the microwave. Okay, the microwave is loud, so I'll be back in a minute. Peas are cooked. I've set them off to the side. So next I need to put 2 tablespoons of water into a skillet, and I need to put some heat under that. It says medium heat. And I also need to add some zucchini that I've cut into thin strips. It said a medium zucchini. I used kind of a smaller zucchini. To make the thin strips, I actually used this peeler. It is my favorite kind of peeler. I have several of them. They're very inexpensive and very good. So I'll link that in the description down below. But now it just says, let me get like something to stir with here. It just says to like simmer these together. And it doesn't say anything about covering it or anything like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this zucchini cook. Again, I'm making changes in my mind already. If it were me, I would just maybe like saute this a little bit instead of cooking it in water. But you know, I wanna try the recipe as is, as closely as I can the first time. That did not take long. It said to cook this over medium heat just until the water evaporated, and it's pretty much gone at this point. So now I have to add my ingredients to bring it all together. That's my peas and butter sauce. Oh man, that was probably not an attractive looking ad. Sorry. And pimento. That's gonna give it such a fun color. I'm very excited about that. And it's gonna add good flavor too. I just love the color of pimento, like diced pimento. So I'm gonna stir this together and I'm gonna let it heat through for a minute or two because my peas probably cooled off a little bit, and then we'll give it a taste. I have my little dish of, what is it called again? What is this? Buttery peas and zucchini. Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously buttery peas and zucchini, right? Full disclosure, I added extra pimento because I thought it looked so pretty with this green and this blue dish. I love these little blue dishes. Unfortunately, they are not new. They are Pyrex from the past. I think they're called Pixies. I have a couple of them. So I can't link them, but maybe if you want to do a little search for these somewhere, I think they're called Pyrex Pixies. So cute. And I love making individual servings of things in these dishes. Frozen peas are probably my favorite frozen vegetable, so I think I'm gonna like this. The strings are a little hard to maneuver. The butter sauce is a little bit sweet. Didn't expect that. I thought it was gonna be like maybe like a garlicky or, I don't know. I get it. The dish itself is actually pretty texturally interesting too, because you've got those peas, you know, they have a little bit of bite to them, and then you kind of have like, almost like the zucchini noodles. If you have a spiralizer, you could probably do this really easily if you want. I wouldn't make the like spiralized noodles very often, so I don't really have that. But my little peeler worked just fine. Every so often you get a little tangy pimento. Okay, this is actually really delightful. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be that exciting. I don't know if I'm gonna go out of my way to get those like peas and butter sauce. If I happen to be shopping and they have them in stock, maybe I'll grab a couple, but I think I could probably like replicate that butter sauce. It's like, you know, butter, salt, maybe a pinch of sugar even, and then paprika, something like that. But yeah, this tastes really good. And I'm always looking for new ways to make myself eat more vegetables. The first issue of Taste of Home magazine was published in 1993, and it is still being published today, though it is under a different publisher. I think that the original publisher was like purchased in the early 2000s, maybe around 2008, something like that. So you can still get Taste of Home magazine out and about, but it doesn't look like this anymore. This has a very distinct look and feel to it, I think. The page is very glossy, the stock is very thick. This seems like it would have been kind of an expensive magazine to produce. They did crowdsource their recipes. It says the magazine edited by 1,000 country cooks. So they're saying like every episode, every issue, you know, there were contributors. They feature a few of the people here. I don't know how the contributors were selected to be in this section, because if you look here, these teeny tiny little names, these are more of the contributors, and they even have more on an additional page back here. Yeah, so they have to name everyone, right? And there are tons of them. I did a full flip through of this magazine over on my Patreon. So we went through every single page. So I'm not gonna do that again here, but I will give you some highlights of this magazine. Also, I wanted to point out, I broke out my favorite like 90s cardigan. This is a Pendleton cardigan that I thrifted a few years back, and it does make me feel a little bit like late 80s, early 90s. It has like playing card suits on it. A little bit like, you know, a toned down Beverly Goldberg. Not as flashy as she would have worn, but I kind of get the feel there. The cover, let's start there. They're making cookies. They're making so many cookies, and I just love it. This particular lady right here, I mean, I don't know who she is, but I'm getting strong, like, Martha Stewart vibes. I think it's her face. It's something about the way her hair is styled. Really reminds me of, like, younger Martha Stewart. The section that is my absolute favorite, the clip and keep section. Oh my goodness. So in this section, you'll see there are lots and lots of like recipe card style things. You were supposed to cut these out and save them in your recipe card file or recipe card box. I am so thrilled to tell you that all of the recipes are still here. That was the first thing I checked when I found this magazine. I found this at a thrift store for like 50 cents. I was very excited. And I thought, oh, you know what? I bet the clip and keep section has been dismantled, but it hasn't. They're all here. So in addition to recipes throughout the magazine, we also have, you know, recipes in that section that you can cut out easily and kind of like they're all the same size. They're like the size of an index card. Lots of interesting features here. Cooking for just the two of us. I did a recipe from this section. 2-person recipes, always welcome in my household. Small batch recipes. Oh, there was another one I wanted to point out here. I liked this feature. I don't know if they still do it, but it says, here's one of our 1,000 editors and here's her favorite meal. People would submit recipes. Apparently people would submit full meals sometimes, and they would select them and feature them. And all of the recipes for this favorite meal are available in the clip and keep section. The other thing that I really noticed about this versus a modern Taste of Home magazine, I went and I found a Taste of Home magazine in a store, and I just kind of looked at it briefly just to kind of compare. I don't have like full details on it. The way that this layout is, it's more like newspaper columns with photographs. If you look at a modern day Taste of Home, you're gonna have a lot of food photography with the copy sort of like incorporated into the photo. The layout on this is a little bit more like blocky, I guess, than the ones that you would see today. Oh, they often had, or maybe in every issue, they had a kitchen remodel, and they would include like the layout of this person's kitchen, the before and after. So if you're looking for ideas, they have some in Taste of Home magazine. I don't know if they still do that or not. Oh, this is another one I really love, and I think a lot of my viewers can relate, and they would probably enjoy this feature as well. My mom's best meal. So again, these recipes are available in the clip and keep section of the magazine, but people would submit a meal that they ate, you know, their mom used to make or grandmother used to make. And I don't know, I just think it's nice, you know, just to remember the things you ate growing up, the nostalgia, the warm feelings. Like that's what I think some of you get out of my channel too, which believe me, I am so thrilled about that. Especially lately, I have been getting a lot of very nice comments about how you're feeling comforted by my videos, and that's what I want. If I can help you just feel a little bit better or a little more comfortable or just spark some nice nostalgic feelings, like, my job is done. That's what I want. So thank you very much for leaving those kinds of comments. Oh, I like this. Perking up the old brown bag. We got some lunch ideas and lunch recipes. This magazine also featured some like contests and competitions. You could win like a cleaning service, I think was one of the prizes. You could win a hand mixer, a lot of different things. Oh, I loved this photo in particular, and I talked about this over on my Patreon. So this photo right here, they're at a potluck and there's just like a line of crock pots. And it looks like one of my family potlucks. This is exactly what they look like, the casserole dishes, the crock pots. Usually the Christmas one would heavily feature red sweaters. I'm not related to any of these people, but I swear, like I feel like these are my relatives in this photo. It's just that good. We have some meals on a budget. And I know you like budget recipes because a lot of you seem to like my budget videos I did in January. Oh, kitchen collectibles. I liked that one too. I just like seeing the stuff that people are into and what they collect. There's a feature here somewhere that's like big batches, big batch recipes. So they go from big batches to small batches. Aha, here it is. Some sensible suggestions for when the gang's all here. So this section features large batch recipes, a complete opposite of what I usually do. So we're talking 100 servings of meatloaf, 100 servings of cheesy apple crisp, 85 servings of big appetite pancakes. So if you have an event and or if you're a caterer, maybe they have some good suggestions for you. And I also really like, there's like a little chart here in the corner. Let's see if the camera will pick it up. It says, here are suggested amounts to feed 100 people. It's like roast beef, chicken, I think like soft drinks, things like that. If you're planning a party, a big one, this could be a very helpful part of the magazine. So just a really quick little zip through. As I said at the beginning of this video, this is very nostalgic for me. I remember seeing this a lot in doctor's offices. My mom would occasionally get this. I think a few times maybe she even had a subscription and would clip the magazine, like the clip and keep section, or sometimes she'd pick them up at like library sales. If you're gonna cut them up anyway, why not? So this magazine really does kind of like spark some memories for me. I've loved to cook since I was very young. So speaking of cooking, let's talk about the recipes that I made today. So the first recipe I tried was for best broccoli casserole. That thing was like a warm hug. It was very good. It was exactly what I wanted, pretty much what I expected, because I have fond memories of eating broccoli, cheese, and rice casserole at different family gatherings and things like that, and it was just one of my favorite dishes. So this recipe, probably not exactly the ones that I grew up with. I think I remember those having like the cheese whiz sauce, like the jarred cheese whiz rather than Velveeta in them, but this one was still so good and pretty close to what I remember eating. It didn't have quite enough broccoli in it for me. It only has 10 ounces in the whole casserole. There's 6 servings of casserole from this recipe. So I would probably bump that up to like 12 or maybe even 16 ounces of broccoli. If you like broccoli, if you want to like a more broccoli heavy dish, I would say increase that amount. But the amount of rice and stuff was pretty good. It was not dry at all. There's definitely enough moisture in there with the two cream soups. Yeah, I really liked this one. It's perfect for today, this rainy, gloomy day. If you want just like a nice, warm, cozy meal, I think this would be a good one to try. The second recipe I tried, Taffy Apple Dip. This was so easy, like the easiest thing. Using ingredients that I pretty much always have on hand. Like I've always got apples in my refrigerator, usually a 8-ounce package of cream cheese. I always have vanilla and brown sugar, of course I do. And you just kind of whip this up and it makes this very smooth, kind of like light and fluffy dip for apples. And it's not overly sweet. Like I know the ingredients are sugar and cream cheese basically, but it's not overly sweet. I think, you know, the amount of brown sugar in this is very good. It's perfect. And then I think it has to do with the sort of tartness of the cream cheese. Like it's, you know how cream cheese has kind of a savory quality until you turn it into like a cheesecake or whatever you're doing. I think that really helps here. So This could be considered, you know, maybe part of a light dessert or like a little light dessert buffet, but it's not so overly sweet that you can't have like other things with it. I think you could even just put this out with your other food. Like if you're having, let's just say you're having a party and you're having dips and cheese balls. And I want to go to this party, by the way, because it sounds like it's right up my alley. But I think you could put this out among the savory food too, and it wouldn't be out of place. I served it with Granny Smith apples. I also tried some with like graham crackers, very good as well. So if you want a couple of like dipping options, you could do apples, possibly like berries, strawberries maybe, and maybe graham crackers or vanilla wafers. Also so fast to make. It took like very little time. So if you need to make something quick, this is great. And it's not the kind of thing that you mix up and have to leave in the fridge to like marinate or like get the flavors to meld. It's ready to roll like right away. And finally, buttery peas and zucchini. And this came from the cooking for two section, which was great. I always love a small batch recipe. This was a lot better than I thought it would be. I love having frozen vegetables on hand. You know, it's just nice because if you've got a few of your favorites and maybe you can't get out to the store or something, you're not gonna go without veggies in your meals. I always have frozen peas, frozen green beans, frozen spinach, usually frozen broccoli. I didn't have quite enough for my broccoli casserole, but I made it work. So just having like a few of your favorites in the fridge is very nice. And I'm always looking for ways to kind of like doctor those up and make them even more delicious. And this was great. You know, it has the frozen peas and butter sauce. I think you can replicate the butter sauce pretty easily. It's got zucchini. That is a fresh vegetable, I admit it. And then some pimento. I always have pimento in my fridge because I use it a lot in my videos. This was a nice change. Normally, you know, I like to eat frozen peas with like macaroni and cheese or tuna casserole or something like that. And they're fine just plain with a little butter and salt. But I think adding the zucchini ribbons and the pimento really took it up a notch. Not just taste-wise, but texture-wise. It was nice to have a mix of just different textures, those very thin kind of like strips of zucchini, and then occasionally you would get like a bright kind of pop of flavor from the pimento as well. Really good, like better than I expected. And I will probably make it again, and I will try to replicate that butter sauce myself so I don't have to go in search of those peas and butter sauce. So I hope you like this look back at Taste of Home magazine, and I hope it gave you some new ideas to add to your meal plan. I'd like to once again thank Factor for sponsoring today's video. Head to factor75.com and use code 50cookingbooks to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video and for making me part of your day. If you like this video, please share it with a friend and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.